because
I want to extend condolences to her accomplishments and her work and her leadership, and also being a very good mother and community-oriented person. Her talent, her expertise will dearly be missed, and I know we have a lot to learn from how she stood up as a female leader in the region and internationally. So I wish God's peace and strength with her family, especially during Christmas season when families together. I pray that they remember and they have fond memories to go to. They will remember her by their memories, and they will have a wonderful Christmas despite the challenging circumstances and grief. I also want to extend condolences to the Lagwa and Marshall family, to the staff of Coulibaly Ridge, and to the constituents of Sufferem, and indeed to all stakeholders in the tourism industry on the death, the gruesome death of Daniel Langwa and Daniel Marchand. As you know, Mr. Speaker, they have been pioneers in the ecotourism industry in particular. Daniel and his partner came to Dominica in 1994 to build the first eco resort in the world, and it took them about 14 years to build that property because the whole goal was to make it sustainable and resilient. So if he built one structure and it was not compatible with the vision, he would start all over again. So it took a lot of hard work, sweat, and investment and commitment. And he finally, in 2022, was able to open this world-class resort, which you know received many accolades across the world, including being named the #1 eco resort in the world. And sadly, when they were enjoying the benefits of their hard work and employed about 40 people to work at the resort, we all know what happened, Mr. Speaker. But I would want Dominicans and everyone to remember them for their commitment to the tourism industry and commitment to the constituency of Supre. Because I can say to you, after Hurricane Maria, they stepped up. Danielle and Dominic made it their life mission and commitment to support the rebuilding of the Sufre constituency and invested over 1 million in reconstructing the Sufre primary school to ensure that it was resilient and it would serve as a hurricane shelter if we were to face another disaster of such magnitude. They also built the Scottshead Jetty, and in 2024, they were about to start the building of the marina in Scottshead. So, Mr. Speaker, it is a tremendous, tremendous loss for us as a people, as a nation, and also because they were very warm, loving, kind, humble people. So may their souls rest in peace, and we pray that their legacy of goodness will live on in Dominica, and that Coulibaly Ridge will remain the top-class resort that it was designed to be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Confirmation of minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meeting Friday, 10th November 2023 be confirmed as circulated.
I beg to second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of the meeting of Friday, 10th November 2023 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. So the minutes confirmed as circulated. Announcements by Speaker. I received two correspondences from Honorable Greta Roberts and Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerritt seeking permission to be absent from this meeting today. They are both out of state on government business. So permission is granted. I just wanted to also remind members of the dress code. We need to take this matter seriously, because if we start breaching rules, dressing anyhow, then we will be impacting the rules. So I just wanted to just point it out. I think I sent a correspondent in the last meeting, but I just wanted to place it on the record again. We need to dress in sober colors, you know? It's not a fashion statement in Parliament. And members also should be, especially all members, should not be having their arms, you know, out. I just wanted to again make a general statement, not specific to anyone. Another issue is in terms of the chamber. I'd like to ask members and also strangers, whether they're in the chamber or in the gallery, they should not be eating. The only thing you could do in the chamber or in the gallery is drink water. So I'm just pointing that out because we had some challenges. So, that's what I wanted to announce this morning. Thank you.
Speaker, what's the comment?
Presentation of papers.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Excise Tax Amendment Order 2023, Schedule of Supplementary Appropriation for Financial Year July 2022 to June 2023, Debt Portfolio Review Report for Financial Year July 2022 to June 2023.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table. Commonwealth of Dominica Citizenship by Investment Regulations 2023.
Government notices.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motions supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending 30th of June 2023, an excise tax amendment order, and taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled Stamp Amendment Act 2023, Income Tax Amendment Act 2023, Cooperative Societies Amendment Act 2023, and Supplementary Appropriation 2022-2023 Act 2023, standing in my name on the order paper.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled Children Care and Adoption Amendment Act 2023, standing in the name of the Honorable Minister of Health and Social Services on the order paper.
Statement by ministers. Introduction of bills.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Stamp Amendment Act 2023 be read a first time.
Speaker seconded.
Stamp Amendment Act 2023.
The bill has been read the first time.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Income Tax Amendment Act 2023 be read a first time.
I beg to second, Mr. Speaker.
Income Tax Amendment Act 2023.
The bill has been read the first time.
Cooperative Societies Amendment Act 2023 be read a first time.
I beg to second it, Mr. Speaker.
Cooperative Societies Amendment Act 2023.
The bill has been read the first time.
Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Children, Care and Adoption Amendment Act 2023 be read the first time.
I beg to second, Mr. Speaker.
Children, Care and Adoption Amendment Act 2023.
The bill has been read a first time.
Public business, government business, motion.
Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year 2022-2023 amounting to $349,702,600.49, the details of which are contained in the attached schedule.
I beg to second, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to present the supplementary estimates comprising of advances made from the contingencies fund during the fiscal year 2022-2023. Section 80, subsection 1 of the Constitution, as well as Section 12(3) of the Finance Administration Act, Chapter 6302 of the 2017 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, permit the Minister for Finance to advance urgent or unforeseen expenditures not originally approved in the annual budget and subsequently seek approval of the Honorable House for these advances by way of supplementary estimates. During fiscal year 2022-2023, amounts totaling $349,702,600.49 were advanced. 14% of $49,582,256 of the amounts advanced was funded by grants. 79% or $275,288,137 was funded by local means, mainly CBI revenues, while 7% or $24,832,208 was financed by loan arrangements. Mr. Speaker, I now present the details of the allocation of these advances. Mr. Speaker, $249,332 was allocated to the Office of the President. Of this amount, $93,000 was required to facilitate the hosting of the 2022 President Independence Reception after a 2-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. $138,782 was required to meet operational expenses, while $17,550 to meet the shortfall in personal emoluments. Mr. Speaker, the House of Assembly received $78,169 to complete necessary infrastructure improvements. A total amount of $4,133,247 was approved for the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs. $1,063,937 of this amount was allotted to assist with immediate relief to the persons affected by the trough system which impacted the villages in the east of Dominica on November 6, 2022. Mr. Speaker, this government continues to prioritize the safety and the well-being of all our citizens after any climatic event. The remaining $3,069,310 to the Ministry of National Security was advanced to meet expenses associated with the support and maintenance of the civil registry and passport issuing systems. There again, Mr. Speaker, what this does is just guaranteeing the integrity of our official documents in our country. The Electoral Office received an amount of $3,114,780 to facilitate the general election, which was held on December 8, 2022. A general election that was closely linked to the reset that we had to put forward in view of the climatic events that we faced, which actually affected our country very significantly. And the majority of Dominicans re-elected the government that they know have their back, which is the Dominican Labour Party government. For the fiscal year 2022-2023, additional budgetary provisions in the amount of $119,402,558 was approved for the International Airport project under the Office of the Prime Minister. Works on this project are progressing much quicker than anticipated. Mr. Speaker, the Dominican Labour Party must be commended for making the construction of the international airport a reality. We are very aware of the numerous attempts by previous governments to have an international airport. And finally, Mr. Speaker, it's on its way, and we just can't wait for it to finally be completed. Mr. Speaker, it is anticipated that the commissioning of the international airport will result in a substantial, sustainable increase in tourist arrivals and export of Dominica's produce and products will spill over increased activity and grow opportunities in every macroeconomic sector within Dominica. We anticipate the transformation of the Dominican economy with thousands of new businesses and additional sustainable jobs created over time as a result of this international airport. Let me remind every Dominican to get ready to take advantage of the opportunities which will arise from this major transformative infrastructure development. Mr. Speaker, a total of $28,241,289 was approved for the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, you will recall the gasoline shortages in the second half of calendar year 2022. During that time, we were advised by local importers that there were supply chain challenges. Government recognized that these repeated shortages were severely affecting residents, commerce, and the security of the people of this country. Therefore, we were left with no other choice but to procure a shipment of 10,000 barrels of gasoline through the Dominican National Petroleum Company in the tune of $4,085,265 to keep in storage to be sold to local retailers should there be further disruptions in the import of gasoline. Additionally, $2,500,000 was used to provide customs refund due to increased subsidies granted on fuel. Mr. Speaker, many Dominicans are in receipt of government's non-contributory pension. This promotes financial security and stability for our elderly. Recognizing the importance of ensuring our beloved elderly have a regular source of income to cover basic needs and maintain a reasonable quality of life, the government reduced the age requirement to 65 years, effectively January 1, 2023, and increased the pension by 5%. Therefore, $2,969,303 was advanced for this initiative. Mr. Speaker, the government's resilience and growth agendas are being implemented using a combination of mainly CBI revenues, loans, and grants. In the case of the CBI, government continues to implement measures to ensure that the program remains sustainable and meets the evolving standards set by international agencies and our partners. In this regard, an additional amount of $18,686,719 was required to conduct due diligence on potential investors. Mr. Speaker, the CBI program has brought several benefits to our beloved nation, and we cannot ignore the contributions that it has made to our national development. We can all admit that without the proceeds from the program, managing the choppy waters left by Tropical Storm Erica, Hurricane Maria, and the COVID-19 pandemic would have been more difficult for us as a developing nation was it not for the CBI program. Mr. Speaker, the World Bank made available grant funds through the Enhancing Agricultural Resilience National Food Security Project in the sum of $5,100,000 to procure agricultural tools and equipment for farmers and fisher folks. The government of Dominica is elated to partner with the World Bank as we pave the way to bring the agriculture sector's contribution to GDP to $700 million by the year 2030. Mr. Speaker, this government continues to invest in education as it serves as a trigger for both personal and economic growth. As such, we have ensured that adequate spaces are available at preschool, primary, and secondary level, as well as at the tertiary level for the Dominica State College, while thousands of students have also received support towards their university degrees. Bearing this in mind, the Dominica Grammar School, one of the oldest educational institutions on the island, which has nurtured many successful Dominicans, requires additional space and much upgrading. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, works are ongoing on that school and progressing satisfactorily as well. Last fiscal year, works accelerated and an additional $22,668,856 was provided to the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence for this project to ensure it continued at pace. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, through its Modern Resilient Housing Development Program, received an additional budgetary allocation in the amount of $65,403,657. Mr. Speaker, as visible to all residents, this government is well on its way to building a resilient Dominica and advancing the overall quality of life of our citizens. This includes providing and facilitating decent living conditions. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to advise this House that through this great initiative, we have to date completed 1,811 resilient homes. This government has made it very clear that our goal is to construct 5,000 resilient homes by 2023. And Mr. Speaker, you must have noticed the 73 homes that we did hand over yesterday at the State House to deserving, vulnerable Dominicans. Mr. Speaker, due to our sound public financial management practices, international partners continue to provide grants to our beloved nation. The United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, provided financial assistance in the amount of $670,244 through its COVID-19 vaccine delivery support initiative, which assisted with the vaccine management and other health-related projects, while the Pan American Health Organization also gifted the state $418,000, $339, to aid in the rehabilitation works carried out on the roof of the Regional Armor Hospital in Portsmouth. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the government and the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, I wish to thank both UNICEF and PAHO for their unwavering contribution to the development of our healthcare system. In addition to the grants, $394,245 was advanced from the government fund for the payment of wages to public health care workers. Mr. Speaker, all of these funds which were advanced to the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investments totaled $1,482,828. The Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization and Kalinago Upliftment received an additional sum of $31,602,004. Of this amount, a sum of $31,291,004 was provided for the payment of salaries to interns across all components of the National Employment Program. Mr. Speaker, on a daily basis, we hear of success stories emanating from the NEP's impact on lives and livelihoods, which are gratifying, including the matriculation of several interns into permanent employment. In addition to the additional amount spent on the NEP, $311,000 was utilized for the payment of wages to officers of the Park Management and Preservation Division. Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, launched the project Future Tourism, Rethinking Tourism and MSMEs in times of COVID-19 in 10 Eastern Caribbean countries. The government of Dominica, through the Ministry of Tourism, benefited from this great initiative, which aimed to provide technical and financial support to micro, small, and medium enterprises in the tourism sector, which were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The amount of $37,908 was allocated to a second cohort comprising 4 beneficiaries to allow them to streamline their business operations in order to survive the current market challenges. Mr. Speaker, additional budgetary allocation in the amount of $54,900,575 was approved for the then Ministry of Planning, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, and Sustainable Development and Renewable Energy. Of this total, Mr. Speaker, $27,602 was provided for the development of a population policy and action plan based on a grant provided by the Caribbean Development Bank. This work is nearing completion. We thank the bank for its continuous support to Dominica's development. Mr. Speaker, the remaining amount of $872,973 was provided to build an additional infrastructure for geothermal development project, including 2 well pads, access roads, as well as commence preparatory work for the transmission network. Mr. Speaker, government is well on its way to developing the infrastructure that will allow Dominica to tap into its enormous geothermal energy potential. These investments in geothermal will help reduce and stabilize electricity costs and decarbonize the power grid, which is currently powered by diesel. We are starting with a 10 megawatt geothermal power plant with the intention to expand in the future to meet the needs of our growing economy and export to neighboring islands. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy received $11,966,031 to facilitate payment under the Layu Valley Road and River Training Project financed by the Caribbean Development Bank. Mr. Speaker, this project addressed the damaged infrastructure caused by the failure of the Matthew Dam in 2011. To date, we are happy to report the following. 1. The rehabilitation and reconstruction of 170 meters of river defense wall on the northern bank of the Lai River. The rehabilitation and reconstruction of the section of the Eo-Libla Highway adjacent to the riverbank, inclusive of drainage, markings, and signage. The construction of the Layu Emergency Shelter Facility, and the rehabilitation and construction of approximately 4 kilometers of roadway from Hillsborough Bridge eastwards to York Valley Bridge. Mr. Speaker, an advance was made to the Cabinet Office in the amount of $918,187 for further investment in CREED. This included an amount of $46,035, which was received from the United Nations Development Fund to analyze the impact of the Climate Resilience Execution Agency for Dominica since its inception and to identify any gaps in its communication strategy. Mr. Speaker, CREED was established in 2018 and the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017 and continues to play a critical role in Dominica's resilience agenda. Over the past 4 years, CREED has enhanced the capacity of the public service, business community, and social sector partners to foster the development of a robust economy, inculcate a collective consciousness, leverage Dominica's national assets, strengthen institutional systems, build resilient infrastructure, and develop resilient communities. CREED has served as a model for the international community. Its success story has been told globally and has attracted many inquiries and study tours from organizations and countries worldwide. Just recently, the work of CREED was featured in a white paper which was published by the United Kingdom government. As CREED's life comes to an end on December 31st this year, I again thank our main partners, the government of the United Kingdom and Canada, who provided financial and supervisory support to CREED throughout its life. We thank the staff of CREED and the other partners who have contributed to the success of CREED. Mr. Speaker, the World Food Programme made available grant funding at the tune of $403,180 to the people who were affected by the trough on November 6, 2022. The government of Dominica sincerely thanks the World Food Programme for its cash grant initiative, which provides immediate relief for people recovering from disasters and the impact of climate change. Our government and the people of Dominica are indeed grateful for your continuous assistance as we partner to accelerate progress on the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Speaker, this government's robust public financial management practices stand as a testament to its commitment to fiscal responsibility and transparency. Overall, our government has handled the country's finances responsibly, as demonstrated by our sound record to date. And we have also demonstrated the need to stay resolute and dedicated in our efforts to maintain fiscal prudence, notwithstanding the repeated challenges that we encounter, mainly due to climate change and geopolitical decisions. Although the economy has recovered, government's finances are still recovering from the increased expenditure and reduction in revenues caused by a series of repeated shocks, namely Erica, Hurricane Maria, COVID, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war as well. As a government, we are very hopeful that on the fiscal side, we will recover fully within the next 2 years as we continue to exercise our usual fiscal prudence, barring any further macroeconomic shocks. Note, Mr. Speaker, that the supplementary estimates in respect of the advances from the contingency fund, which I have just presented to the Honorable House, is evidence of the level of fiscal prudence that this government has been exercising. In the fiscal year 2020 to 2021, there were 81 advances from the contingency fund. In the fiscal year 2021 to 2022, the number reduced to 60. And in fiscal year 2022 to 2023, it was reduced to 30. This is a reduction of almost 50% when we compare fiscal year 2022-2023 to fiscal year 2021-2020, and a 63% reduction in advance in fiscal year 2022 to 2023 when compared to fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important part of the presentation to see how we've reduced the advances from 2020 up till 2023, regularly and consistently going downwards. Mr. Speaker, this is a deliberate action by our government to make every effort to remain within the budget approved by Parliament as we continue to consolidate and build fiscal resilience. Mr. Speaker, I now commend for approval of the House the supplementary estimates in the amount of $349,702,600.49. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The motion is now before the House for debate. Yes, Honorable Charles, recognize you, may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to move a motion to adjourn this parliament to Monday 18th, because I don't like to speak on things I wasn't aware of. I heard some supplementary estimate, proposed regulation coming from Dominica Citizens by Regulation 2023. I wasn't given any information, nothing in the supplementary. So I don't like to speak on things I'm not aware of. Especially this is our GDP of the country. So we need some time to pay close attention to our GDP. It is our main GDP. So this is not a Vicky-Vicky thing where I can just come and speak on this citizen by investment, and the Minister of Governance is not there. I don't like to speak when he's not there. So I'd like to move a motion that we adjourn this parliament to get someplace enough time to discuss this matter and get enough information to take care of our country. All right?
Any seconder?
Speaker.
All right. It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until when you say Monday?
Yeah.
Monday, what's the date? Tell me the date.
18th.
The date.
18th.
Monday, 18th December 2023. Those in favor? Those against? Okay, so the House is not adjourned based on the voices on both sides, so we may proceed with the debate.
As already moved, asked, the ayes have it. I'd like to debate on this supplementary estimate. When it comes to section, I'm going to go to Honorable Roland Roy. And Minister of Agriculture. Day before, it had some distribution of some fertilizer for the farmers. I'd like to commend you on how you're distributing the fertilizer because you have to ensure the food basket is protected. And the time before, they give it to Gregory Revere and Richard Charles to make magie and play politics with it. I don't like those things. You see what you went through Ministry of Agriculture to distribute these things? They have the records and it's going to reach the correct stuff. So,
Yes.
I only got two.
Member, just to remind you, you can't call people's name in the house unless it is in a positive light.
Okay.
So I'd ask you to
That
withdraw
was- I withdraw that.
the statement about
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the food we have to eat, and I find the government only speaking about it, but I don't find they implementing. I know things take time. I don't find they implementing these procedures because remember, for example, our white potato. No, I don't really. I'm addressing the Minister of Agriculture, and then the white, through the speaker, the white potato program contributed tremendously to the GDP. And we are waiting, we the farmers are waiting on the seeds. We don't want the January and February to reach and we do not plant as yet. We need to contribute heavily towards GDP. I know they said it's on its way, and it's on its way, it's on its way. But we need it, Mr. Speaker, to increase and to support our own and stop importing certain things. Now, when it comes to the main part in the supplementary to me, the main part to me, this very coming international airport. Mr. Speaker, as the government says it's coming, but it has some environmental impact that might just cause some of us in the Northeast not to even see this international airport. Because certain environment cause certain mishaps, and we need to correct these things. Everybody keeps saying the Prime Minister this, the Minister of Tourism this. No, we have to play our part. Land dispute, CR7 shouldn't have to be distributing and correcting land dispute. You have people in lands and survey to correct these things. I'm not calling name, they tell me to call the name. They're supposed to correct these things. Chinese and MNC are not supposed to be correcting these things. Now, when it comes to that, this supplementary, international airport for the next year and coming, next financial year, is going to dominate the supplementary because it have a lot of unforeseen expenses, which, because they didn't do no in-depth environmental impact. For one, MMC have to give DOASCO, just sign a contract here, of $400 and something thousand for pipes. This wasn't in the estimate, you know. That is unforeseen. But if some people that do their work, they will know DOASCO pipes passing in the road. Now that's an additional 400 and something thousand. Then you still have landowners in Wesley. One even died and we still owing them $1.2 million. When is these things going to wrap up? Meet the payment of the landowners. And when it reach to the, I know everybody wants to see the international airport. My constituency wants to see the national airport. But we have the heavy trafficking, transporting of material. Over 5 to 6 different chairmen, besides and before international airport, requested speed bump in the center of Margaret, West Flat, by the credit union. And all of them was rejected. Over 6 chairmen. And we have schools, financial institution, Bill Express, cable and wire, everything. And the excessive and the extra commuting of this heavy equipment, these things, before we see any unforeseen, because we like to be reactive, not proactive. We need to correct these things before these things happen. So it's just a little request we had from former chairman present that we need the speed bumps erected in West Flat. It just come and show us we can do it on our own, because people have their children. And I don't know, the truckers don't have to like me, you know. They driving the vehicles, because I was a trucker before. I used to drive for trips. I used to get paid by trips. They are not getting paid by trips. The Chinese even following the locals now, speeding on the road. So we need to correct these things, because I seen, remember, Margaret people are very stubborn, but we have patience. But we just need these things to be corrected before any unforeseen incident. Because these unforeseen incidents is going to cause a lot of things that we don't want to happen. So before it happens, and then they're going to say, oh, Prime Minister, just do what you all have to do to correct this international airport fault. Now, when it comes to, you see the contractors, the subcontractors, they're they're supported by and funded by the CBI program, which is paid by MMCE. Now, when it comes to the corporate social responsibility, it have this director of MMCE. He is doing his work, but he needs the okay from you all to do certain things. He cannot just jump and go and do that, although he's financing, because this is a lot of unforeseen expenses. The road is dilapidated. I know the Honorable Minister of Fidel Grant. I know his constituency also has been affected. But sometimes, Mr. Speaker, we need to be a little more proactive on these things. We cannot wait. We cannot wait and wait. And when things happen, you can say, oh, sorry. And people don't like to hear sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the international airport is not a bus stop, it's not a parliament building. This is the biggest investment. And I find the locals, not the contractors, because the contractors more willing to speak to the people on the ground than the local people in government to correct certain things. Chinese coming at my home to tell me to come and show them there. And I tell them, you all have all your people to show you all points. Go and get them. But no, they're too far maybe. Margaret is too far. West is too far. We need the people to do their work, Mr. Speaker. Stop this thing about if your minister and your pal rep, do your work. Just do your work. It's a simple thing. Because when it comes to the international airport, Mr. Speaker, tourism is going to be affected. Agriculture is going to be affected in a positive way. All these infrastructure you have in the road network going to be affected. But we have to bear in mind, we have people living at international airport not going to finish tomorrow. So you see this environmental impact it having on us negatively. We need to find ways to improve the people and their standard of living or maintain the standard of living, because Margaret people have a certain standard of living, a way of living. We don't live in no Viking. Because Margaret people like to eat what they want when they're ready. And we don't want nobody to block us because of the development, sir.
You have to say what is Viking translate.
Okay, before I tell you, I'm going to tell you, thanks to Minister of Education, that our language are Marigot and not a dialect. That is a language. And thanks to the support of UNESCO and this present government for funding a program to push our language, no dialect, our language in the school. But anyway, Viking, anything, do anything. So now, Kokoya not a dialect, that's our language. But now it just kick in. You see, when I speak in, no one need to come in because it's an automatic thing. It's a language. You understand? So it will come back. It recognized by a UNESCO worldwide organization. But anyway, let's go. Let's go on. No, when it comes to the international airport, I would like my representative around the Margot constituency, meaning the neighboring representative like Honorable Fidel Grant, Honorable Posey Frederick. I would also like them to support me and help me to push certain things to prevent the unforeseen. I will message them, I'll speak to them because we need to prevent the unforeseen because, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you're watching the international airports. A lot of Caribbean islands don't want them to have international airport. When this international airport built today, it will not just push today. But you see, tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month, nobody cannot put their foot in Dominica because Antigua have a problem already. St. Lucia have a problem already. Dominica is the center of the Caribbean. So this is already revenue we're not even seen as yet, but it is guaranteed revenue. So now let us delay the international airport by adding more unforeseen things to the supplementary estimate. You see this? Internet 119, that is joke. That just started to pile up. Because they have a lot of unforeseen expenses that the government workers, not the people in parliament, they have to push the procedures and implement it, but they don't have to do the working. A lot of people not doing their work and bringing back the report properly. They have to do their work to make sure this international airport is a possibility very soon. Don't delay it. Don't delay it, and when you go and do your report and you have inconclusive reports saying people mining for copper and spreading propaganda, this copper they're mining for, no, you have to put the reports on them out there because it's a propaganda saying people mining for copper and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, these things, bad news spreads fast, Mr. Speaker. So we have to try and stop this bad news and put out the positive first. Put out the positive. Look, Doasco, the Chinese burst Doasco pipe over 20 times during the international airport. Doasco did send a bill for them. Look, last week, I heard Doasco crying for funds. All these unforeseen expenses hinder in the process. Because when the pipes burst, Doasco still not fixing no pipe. They have no money. So now we need to prevent certain things. And you see, when it comes to the commuting of the heavy equipment, sometimes I know we've seen the potholes, but we've seen the potholes. We need to pay close attention because remember, the airport is still operating. Douglas Charles is still operating. I mean, yes, a quick patch is going to mash up, but a quick patch can save somebody's life. Life matter. We don't want to just patch it just for patching sake, just for patching sake, and going to matter. No, it's for people's lives. For instance, I don't like to be late. I came here late, it wasn't my fault. Big truck in here, waiting the truck going. Melbourne all the airport. Tire bus is across the road, so I have to wait until the next come for me to get some room for us to pass. It's unforeseen. Not because, and you know what that bus is there? A pothole. These things, that happened just for, I don't know why it happened. I said, look at that, Tony late. I thought that's something late. So those unforeseen stuff, all when the minister driving up, he can see the potholes, make a call, make a directive. You're the minister, nobody can tell you no. Sometimes you have to put on your foot, Delbert, honorable senators behind it. When I say that I going to do, I put on my foot and I give them the reason why I'm going to do that, And it's that I'm going to do, Nobody will tell me not to do that because I seen the sin. Yes, it's going to spend money, but it's somebody's lives. A pothole can cause somebody's lives. We need to get these things rectified. Because if you don't get this, because we're laughing at the international airport, I don't laugh. I work here by at 7, 8 years. I grew up behind the Douglas Charles, and I have a particular interest and liking for airport. We need, because I see when this airport finish, yes, Honorable Fidel Grant, like that. Honorable Koza Chala, but I love it because I know in my old age, it's going to have revenue for all of us. People coming, elderly, everybody going to benefit from the near and far in Dominica. So we need to take this a little more serious. I don't tell you put everything else on the back burner, but it's supposed to be on the front. It is the front, not no geothermal, not no tourism thing. That is the front. You know. Everything is supposed to be behind, you know. So this, Mr. Honorable Filega, we need to take this one more serious to make them try to push around, you know, because this international airport is very serious for you and your constituency. Please, not because Honorable Vince have his interest in his geothermal. Don't tell him, hold on, no. International, the geothermal have to come after. Geothermal can never generate enough revenue. What international gonna bring? Never. Hold on, it's a phase. You jump in, it's a phase. That's the next thing again, you see? You see, they're prioritizing their interests. I like people to prioritize. No, it is ministry. No, it is ministry. That is his ministry, you have to work. But Mr. Speaker, I referring to the Honorable Minister Anderson and my namesake I mean, we not, remember, I don't come here to attack nobody. I come here for development. And this, okay, let me leave the geothermal alone. You see the international airport? I said we building the international airport. I said we building the international airport, and not because the Honorable Vince Anderson have an interest, it is his ministry.
Yeah.
So he must have an interest in the geothermal. But I'm just telling Honorable.
Yeah, one
Fidel,
second, Honorable Sam.
Mr. Speaker, can you please guide the honorable member in how you refer to ministers and parliamentarians in the Honorable House? Because he's saying Honorable Vince Henderson when he should say the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and so forth.
Yes. I agree. Proceed.
All right, I will proceed. Thanks for that correction, Honorable Darren Long. Now, Mr. Speaker, this supplementary, I want to say, you see, when it comes to, my God, people send me here to represent them. You see, when they send me here to represent them, I want to speak about geothermal. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs will speak about the geothermal. I want to speak about the project Fort Michel. I'm speaking about Marigot, and Marigot. All other constituencies have their PAL rep. I'm not going to take on people's role. I know my place. I'm going to take on Marigot role. So by taking on the entry of the country presently is Marigot. By taking on and representing the entry of this Commonwealth of Dominica, the country will be okay. Once the entry of Dominica is okay, the main entry, Dominica is okay. So you see when you come to the international airport, no cruise ship is joke. The main airport is Douglas Charles. Take it or leave it. It's the main airport. And when you all enter on the international airport, nobody going to Portsmouth and come Roseau. They pass into Margaret. Say one, say two. You can say, what all you want, put it west, put it over, you must pass Margaret. You have to, bound to. If you don't pass, that's your business. But you're bound to pass through Marigot. That is the entry of Dominica. Now, the entry of Dominica, sometimes when it comes to the tourism section, you see the international airport, it have certain things I see that going on because, let me tell you what's going on, Mr. Speaker. You have to have a certain standard. And it's been a year since December 6th, since I've been the PAL rep. And I realized the PAL rep thing is not a hard thing. Because I've been doing that since I born. Representing people in all group, I in it, was in it. So doing it is not, but what I'm seeing is like, when it comes to the entry and the present government, like I need some help because it has certain unforeseen buildings. Remember, we've been in our international airport. We've been in our international airport.
10 more minutes.
What? Are you talking for so long now? No, no, you're disturbing. The unforeseen, I would like us to correct it. Because when you enter in and you leave the, my Honorable Minister of Tourism, Honorable Dennis Charles, told me we're going to correct that. We will correct it because what happens is when you leave Douglas Charles, you see those Viking building that going up, and they're saying, is the PM that give me my land? I cannot go and trouble people when they say it's the PM that give them land. You understand? The minister, the honorable prime minister give them land. So what the parliament, remember the parliament, not in the immediate government, in parliament. So I can only send a lending hand and say, okay, Honorable Minister of Tourism, remember we've been in our international airport, this Viking building, this knock-up thing, we need to correct that because we're going to be like international airport, so we have to have an international standard. So when we give in those people the lands and survey have to also collaborate with Ministry of Tourism and say, what you're going to put there? Is that viable? You need help. This is the standard you're going to put there because when you come and see a shanty tongue, I don't like to see certain buildings. And remember, as they say, they're supporting the government, so they get a piece of that. No, it's not that. You have to put a proper structure. This is what they're seeing, is the eye candy of the country. When you enter your country, you're seeing certain elements. You have to be pleasing and eye-catching to the tourism and the locals. So this international airport, we need to start the process of this enhancement now. Don't wait for unforeseen and when international come and say, oh, we break it. No, before they even started to go further, let's correct this thing. Because we need to take it international very seriously. I know we have plenty other issues, plenty other things, but you see the international, I want them to hold it very dear to their heart. Because this is very important for the children to come and children coming. So, Mr. Speaker, before my time finish, I thank you. You're clapping for me, man.
Yes, Honorable Minister Alfred, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to offer commendation, to express gratitude and to give my support to the supplementary appropriation for the financial year July 2022 to June 2023. But before I do so, I take the opportunity as a Minister of Education and National Excellence to remind us members of this honorable House that when we come here, let us exhibit a level of excellence, a standard that the students in the Dominican schools can pattern on. Let's have some structure. I wish, on behalf of the 3 individuals from Cassibrus, the Cassibrus constituency, who received keys to their new homes on the 13th of December 2023, which was yesterday, to express thanks for the effort of the government of Dominica. We are also glad that the section of the 127 million DVRP road project from Tarishpit to Cassibrus is completely surfaced. The residents of the Cassibrus constituency are extremely happy for the decrease in travel time, the economic activities that this project has brought to our area, and the savings we are making due to less wear and tear on our vehicles. Road nice road, Mr. Speaker. I also want to thank the Ministry of Trade and Minister Vince Anderson and the Ministry of Agriculture and Dexter for purchasing all the bay oil the producers of the area had, especially those in Petit Soufriere. Mr. Speaker, 30 bay oil producers sold 2,059 pounds of oil at $100 a pound. Look good maths, Mr. Speaker. And you know what they taught us in maths? Just add 2 zeros to the number. So this means $200,000 came to the constituency, and people have been getting ready for Christmas since last month. Thank you very much to those who were involved in this effort again. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the 17 Dominican students who made it on the CXC merit list this year. What this means is that these students ranked between 1 and 10 in the entire region in their subject area. In CSEC, Physical Education and Sports, Talisha Tara Sentley of the Portsmouth Secondary School placed 4th, and in Industrial Technological Building, Adrian Ashton Piper of the St. Mary's Academy placed 5th. In the Cape Electrical and Electronic Engineering Technology Unit 2 from Academic School of Learning, Yasmin Seraphine placed 3rd and Arlene Valerie placed 7th. In the CCSLC English from Cassibru Secondary School, Anfia Akisha John Charles placed 1st in the region and Tiana Gilbert placed 9th. In French, from the Dominica Grammar School, Nalia Defoe placed 4th and Laria Augustus placed 8th. And from the Upper Wandral SDA Academic, Marcel Deluge placed 8th also. In mathematics, from the Cassibru Secondary School, Anfia Akisha John Charles placed 1st in the region. Kaidia Cordia Charles placed 3rd. Riel Parish and Rhea Abigail Senfield captured 9th place, all from Cassibru Secondary School. In the whole Caribbean, the region, from Portsmouth Secondary School, Luana Nichols placed 3rd in maths, and from the Dominica Grammar School, Isabella Michelle Branca placed 9th in the region in maths. From the Northeast Comprehensive School, Leon Telemark placed 9th, and from Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, Emmanuel Joseph placed 9th also. The government of Dominica commends the 17 students for their achievement, and indeed, the record is there to show that even if we are not always the head, we can never be the tail. I wish to give special commendation to Anfia John Charles and her parents. She's a student from San Sauvé who attends the Cassibru Secondary School, and she placed #1 in the region in both maths and English at CCSLE this year. I encourage the principal, teachers, students, and parents of the Cassibru Secondary School to continue the hard work, because your Minister of Education, who is your pal rep, is right there behind you. I'm watching the camera to say that. Your Minister of Education, who is also your pal rep, is right there behind you. Mr. Speaker, CXC conducted an efficiency audit of the role of the local registrar in the region. The audit was conducted in Dominica from November 20th to November 22nd, 2023 by internal auditor Ms. Denise Holder-Pierre after a pre-audit meeting was held virtually in October with the local registrar Ms. Magali Celestine. Dominica was the 12th territory to be audited out of a total of 16. The audit work was conducted according to the standards as set by the Institute of Internal Auditors. The work examined the entire process and procedure in which CXC scripts are handled, stored, and administered. The audit visited 6 schools where they observed pre-testing and 1 police station where scripts are normally stored during the exam session. Mr. Speaker, our report states, and I quote, "In summary, the auditor is well pleased with the local registrar's administrative skills. CXC considered Dominica to be low risk by interacting with the local registrar, but the audit has proved that the risk is even lower. The local registrar seems to be enjoying the demands of the job, as it takes individuals who can work independently manage effectively, and have a good personal relationship skills to perform duties effectively. Many innovative ideas came from Dominica and will be shared with the other local registrars in the region, as they too should adopt some of the best practices in Dominica. End of quote. Put your hands together for your country now, colleagues. It is good. It's good. Mr. Speaker, I commend our local registrar, Ms. Magali Celestine, for her teamwork and the entire Ministry of Education staff for a job well done. My commendations, and now, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the supplementary appropriation because the Dominica Grammar School has served the students of Dominica since February 16, 1893. That is 130 years and counting. Just over 3 years ago, the old building was demolished, and presently work is progressing well on the new school project. The new school project will have one main classroom block, which will house 13 classrooms, storage room, washroom facility. This new classroom block will be connected to the existing block at every level with an elevator. This will improve the capability for the school to accommodate students with disabilities. There's also an administrative block which will accommodate the reception, 4 classrooms, computer room, administrative, principals and deputy principals office, seminar room, workshop room, staff room, library, and washroom. There will be an auditorium, a theater block. This state-of-art theater consists of reception area, eating area, kitchen, sitting area with 640 seats. We'll be able to accommodate 640 people in this place. There'll be a stage, changing room, storage, washroom, office space, meeting room, and projector room. There will also be an international-sized football-sized field, 1 basketball court, 1 tennis court, landscaping, and parking. The existing blocks will be renovated to reflect the new block design, and the entire perimeter will be fenced. Mr. Speaker, the $22,668,856.25 under the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence in the supplementary appropriation was used to meet expenses related to the renovation of the Dominica Grammar School. Mr. Speaker, this new school will cater to persons with disability by providing proper sidewalks, ramps, and elevators. It also takes safety of staff and students into consideration by providing on-site drop-offs and adequate parking. A number of green spaces were included in the design to allow for students to socialize in a safe environment. Some green spaces will also be used for the installation of greenhouses, encouraging students to get involved in agriculture at an early stage. All building blocks are being constructed using reinforced concrete columns with block walls and reinforced concrete roof. People must know what's going on. There'll be a number of water tanks installed on site to provide the school with water whenever there may be water issues, allowing classes to continue as planned. Mr. Speaker, according to our DGS school song, that will be a school for human eyes. Mr. Speaker, the government does everything to make the lives of Dominicans better. Many who worked to set the foundation for us on our retirement, and at the time they retired, the amount they made fiscal sense, because the cost of living at that time would correspond with what they were getting. But as the cost of living continues to go up and the amount of money they're getting remains the same, it creates a level of stress. And that is why the government took a decision to increase the pension. There are also many who worked in fields and were not entitled to pension, like many of our farmers and our housewives. And the only money these people receive now is the non-contributory pension allowance by government. As prices of goods are increasing due mainly to world challenges, it became necessary to increase this amount a little too. In addition, the age was dropped from the 70 and over to 65 and over because there are those who are not 70 but needed a little hold up to make their living more comfortable. In addition, Mr. Speaker, there are many people, some of whom are very young, and they are sick and unable to work. This government has ensured that these people receive a compassionate allowance monthly to help them get basic needs. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy that $2,969,303 was appropriated to these causes. Cassibru's constituency is happy for all the assistance our vulnerable people receive. Mr. Speaker, while many choose not to see the value of the NEP to the people of Dominica, to the face of Dominica, and to the human resource development of Dominica, I embrace this program and the purpose it serves. I commend all the young people from the Cassibru's constituency, who have transitioned from the NEP to full-time employment in the public and private sector. They were glad for NEP because they could fill in the work experience section on their CV, and I am happy for the satisfaction that the new employers are expressing. In addition, all those employed on the NEP in our area are very grateful for the program, and they do their work with joy. I express thanks to all of them for the work they do. Mr. Speaker, I am glad that $31,291,000 were appropriated to ensure that these workers were paid, even while the program was transitioning into implementing aspects that will further facilitate our people. Mr. Speaker, the Cassibru's constituency had many Thanksgiving services around the end of November because God was with us. He was good to us. We spent a quiet hurricane season because, alas, Jesus, God knew we could not take more in our area. Mr. Speaker, people are still having panic attack when it rains, but we are confident that our God is able. He takes care of us well, and we have a government in place that has been tried and tested by disasters, and by the grace of God, we always exceed expectation. We will always remember the support we received after the November 6, 2023 trough. How our leader, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, came by boat as soon as it was safe. How we were cut off from each other and how we were taken care of. So I am grateful that part of the $403,180, which was appropriated from World Food Program, was used to facilitate payment towards victims of that November 22nd system in Petit Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, and Cassibrus. We will forever be grateful. Mr. Speaker, the programs, projects, and initiatives presented in the supplementary appropriation were too urgent and critical to be postponed. I commend the efforts of this government. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I wish my constituents a very Merry Christmas, and we're looking forward to starting from Sunday. Every night we're outside. And we look forward to the new year with renewed determination. Ain't no stopping us now. Mr. Speaker, I fully support the supplementary appropriation.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the appropriation bill for the total sum of $349.7 million this morning. Mr. Speaker, having been exposed to the best of both worlds, that is the private and the public sector,
I have the highest commendations for the Honorable Prime Minister and this Labour Party administration for navigating this country through the worst of times, particularly following devastating storms like Tropical Storm Erika and Hurricane Maria, and through the COVID-19 pandemic. The efforts of this government not only kept Dominica afloat, but surpassed all projections of well-renowned organizations and institutions, such as the World Bank, the IMF, and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. According to the July 5, 2023 IMF country report, and I quote, Dominica's economy is recovering strongly following the pandemic. Real GDP growth is estimated to have reached 6.9% in 2021, 5.7% in 2022, and that is driven by construction of climate-resilient infrastructure, a partial rebound in the tourism, and a substantial rise in the agricultural output, end quote. Mr. Speaker, this and other reports highlight an economy that is on the rebound. They speak to prudent management of our resources, proper allocation of the factors of production, investment in real growth sectors, and a mastermind of planning and strategic implementation of projects and programs. My contribution to the Appropriation Bill 2023 is therefore premised against this backdrop of our country's financial landscape. Mr. Speaker, I wish to give my support to the $37,908 that was allocated to the Future Tourism UNDP support to tourism and MSMEs in these supplementary estimates. The implementation of the Future Tourism UNDP support was started when the Small Business Unit was still under the Ministry of Tourism, led by the Honorable Dennis Charles. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the Honorable Dennis Charles on her astute leadership of the unit during that time. And much has changed since those days, Mr. Speaker. Today, I must now commend the Honorable Dennis Charles Pemberton on the work that she did as the minister responsible for the Small Business Unit. Mr. Speaker, we can all agree that Mr. Daniel Pemberton is one of the most blessed men in Dominica. But that is very well deserving because he is a wonderful human being. And I must say that the Honorable Charles Pemberton is also blessed to have found herself such a wonderful partner. But Mr. Speaker, since the first COVID-19 cases were confirmed in the Caribbean during the second week of March 2020, the pandemic and its mobility restrictions have had severe negative impacts on people's livelihoods and businesses in our countries. The global estimates show an estimated 400 million jobs lost during the second quarter of 2020, with disproportionate impact in small island developing states such as ours, which are highly dependent on the tourism and extremely vulnerable to external shocks and natural hazards. The small businesses play a critical role in most economies, particularly in developing countries. They account for approximately 90% of all businesses and 50% of employment worldwide. In our region, small businesses also account for approximately 1/3 of total output. The Future Tourism UNDP support to tourism and MSMEs provided an approach that contributed to identify strategies to directly assist the impacted small businesses community and strengthen existing livelihoods. This project therefore needed financial support for the sector and the revitalization of the sector, as well as the restoration of livelihoods for women, business operators, and their workers. Mr. Speaker, I also want to give my support to the Layu reconstruction and rehabilitation, which accounts for just under $12 million in these estimates. Mr. Speaker, those of us who reside in that part of the country know too well how beneficial that link road is. The Layu Valley Road has been significantly battered since the Matthew Lake broke in July 2011. The road was further damaged during the passage of Tropical Storm Erica and then Hurricane Maria. The farmers in the Layo area are the first and primary beneficiaries of this road's rehabilitation. The easier and quicker access to their farms, I'm sure, will assist in increasing their productivity and their output. However, I know that since Hurricane Maria, my constituents, along with many others in the area, we have had to take a longer route through Portsmouth and Jimmy Warner in trying to access the Pocasset area and the East Coast, including the Douglas Charles Airport. So we are very happy to see that the reconstruction of that road is underway, and our hope is that the next phase in the reparation of this road will continue swiftly. Mr. Speaker, Dominica is not an easy country to run. Our lush mountains and valleys that give us so much natural beauty and natural resources also make the construction and maintenance of our road networks a nightmare. I wake up every day and wonder how our Prime Minister does it with such calm and grace. He gets up and he takes on the challenge of leading this country. And it is something that I marvel at all the time. And it is my absolute joy to give him any support in that task as I am able to. He does it for the profound love of our country and the profound love of our people who live in it. And we in the Collier constituency, we are no strangers to the ravages of a flooding river, Mr. Speaker. We experienced significant flooding during both Tropical Storm Erica and again Hurricane Maria. This year, we took preemptive action by dredging all rivers in the constituency, as much as possible ensuring that the passageways were free of debris that could have caused flooding and danger to our residents. I am very pleased to report that our newly constructed Collier River Defense Wall was for the first time severely tested during the recent tropical system in October. However, we are pleased to announce that the wall performed remarkably. The areas under its protection were kept extremely safe, and yet the tropical system showed that whilst the wall is doing a fantastic job, the areas of the villages that is not yet protected by the wall remains vulnerable. And the Prime Minister agrees with this assessment, and he has given his full support to the continuation of the Collier River Defense Wall. In fact, our technicians and I have traversed the length and breadth of that river, identifying all the areas that needs to be strengthened. And we expect that they are now quickly moving forward with drawing up the plans, and construction of that wall should restart in the soonest possible time, Mr. Speaker. So our good people like Zetmer and Glenn, Mr. Pierre-Louis, can sleep well knowing that the government of Dominica, the Labour Party government of Dominica, has not forgotten them. We have their backs and we will protect them and their property, Mr. Speaker. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, one second, my page is confused again. These appropriations also make mention of $2.97 million, which has gone to the non-contributory social pension allowance. And that has my full support, Mr. Speaker. One of the most profound characteristics of this Labour Party government is its genuine love and demonstrable acts of caring for people, irrespective of their social standings or their financial status. The need to protect and provide for all our citizens, especially those most at risk, is fundamental to who we are. In assessing Dominica's social protection system in 2021, the World Bank reported that, quote, Dominica has achieved relatively high levels of social development. Its indicators compare well with its neighbors and other upper middle income countries. Dominica has made important progress in developing the social protection system, an array of social assistance, social insurance, and active labor market programs that work together well to deliver resilience, equity, and opportunities for the diverse population. We have a wide program coverage and good reliability, a range of cash and non-cash benefits, a doubling of programs than what was available in 2003, and newly introduced programs such as the pension for the elderly, the non-contributors pension, the pilot health insurance for the poor working mothers, and the parametric changes to Social Security, end quote. Mr. Speaker, the non-contributory pension grant is one which has resonated strongly with everyone. It is a prime example of the values of the Dominican Labour Party and this government, and represents the ideals on which a successful society is built. Mr. Speaker, the average person benefiting from this program worked all their lives in low or non-paying jobs, such as on farms or as housewives. These are our good citizens who did their parts and contributed to the development of our country, and this government remains grateful for the role that they played. This is just one of the ways in which we say thanks to them. We also provide other support to our beloved seniors, to include the Yes We Care program, the NEP caregivers, to support the seniors' homes, the Centurion grant and contribution, the free cooking gas to all our Centurions, free medical care at the hospitals. Furthermore, PAL reps such as myself go further by intermittently providing care packages to our vulnerable seniors. And one such intervention is planned in my constituency for next week, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the $2.97 million is money that was very well spent. Mr. Speaker, the National Employment Program is a masterpiece that is the brainchild of our Honorable Prime Minister. The NEP is presently our largest employer, and ensuring that a respectable income is received by almost 5,000 persons across the island. Mr. Speaker, the $31.3 million recorded in these estimates represent monies that went directly into the pockets of individuals that otherwise would have had nothing. The NEP is the lifeblood that is running through the veins of our society right now, Mr. Speaker. Our NEP caregivers are infused in every aspect of our society. They care for and beautify our environment. They take care of our vulnerable elderly. They support our small and large businesses. They work at all types of offices in both the private and the public sectors. They work on our farms. Mr. Speaker, the NEP in my constituency have recently embarked on a fruit tree planting program along the coastal roads. Our vision is for thousands of fruit trees freely available to the general public. These trees will serve to provide much needed protection from soil erosion and slippage, which have been intensified due to the impact of climate change. The fruit trees will also benefit our roadways, Mr. Speaker. We can imagine the beauty of a busload of tourists stopping along our highways to freely enjoy some of our fruits of the country. This will add another layer of things that set Dominica apart and above from everywhere else as one of the very best places to visit, Mr. Speaker. Many of us grew up with a free grazing culture. After school and during summer, we would walk up to the rivers and abandoned estates and freely enjoy the fruits that lay alongside the rivers. But, Mr. Speaker, this is no longer part of our culture. The floodings and infrastructural development has destroyed those trees, Mr. Speaker. What this program is looking to do is to restore that part of our culture where our children can go and enjoy fruits and have that level of fun during, after school and during the summer. It will also help strengthen our food security and help provide a balanced and nutritious part to our diet. The fruit trees will also provide much needed flowers that will help bee with pollination and honey production. Again, adding to our food security and expanding on our export market opportunities, Mr. Speaker. And all this, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying is to show the value of our NEP employees on top of everything else that they do. Mr. Speaker and parliamentarians, can any of us truly envisage a day in Dominica with no NEP at this point? That day would be a day when the clocks would stop, we would all be lost with our hands on our head, and we would be wondering what to do next. These, Mr. Speaker, are the reasons why I throw my full weight and support behind the approval of the supplementary estimates of $31 million that was spent on the NEP program. And I want to assure every NEP employee in the Coaliho constituency that the Dominica Labour Party, separate from the government of Dominica, will be providing each one of them with either a ham or a turkey before the Christmas to show our love and appreciation for them. So every NEP worker in my constituency will get either a ham or turkey before the Christmas. Mr. Speaker, I want to also throw my support behind our geothermal project. Mr. Speaker, the estimates are approximately $54.9 million dedicated to geothermal construction of the geothermal plant. Mr. Speaker, the geothermal plant not only brings with it the prospect of reduced energy costs to all our citizens, but it is bringing with us the prospect of having total energy independence, total green, clean energy independence that will strengthen our position when we approach the international community and make our claim for reparation due to climate changes factors and global warming, such as the carbon credits. Mr. Speaker, the geothermal plant has been long coming, and we are all eagerly awaiting its arrival. And the $54 million will yield many times return to us in the future. And the $54 million is therefore money, again, very well spent towards the development of that plant, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commend Dr. Henderson on the signing of the contract with OMAT last week in the was it in Dubai? In Dubai, Mr. Speaker. Congratulations again, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the $119.4 million that went into the construction of the international airport is an obvious, perfect use of our CBI resources, Mr. Speaker. The international airport has been, we have known of the need for an international airport for decades. No one can dispute right now that Dominica needs the international airport. We can probably all say with some confidence that our development would have been a lot more advanced if we had had that airport built decades ago. But nonetheless, as the saying goes, better late than never. The international airport is now creating hundreds of jobs to Dominicans, and it will continue to create hundreds more as construction proceeds. But not only will the airport create those direct jobs during its construction and during its operation, it also creates secondary jobs for the people that will provide support services to the airport. And the benefits of the airport, which we expect to come, such as the increase in the number of visitors, will also lead to increase in small business creation. We will have a range of new businesses developing around and expanding around the increased number of visitors on the island, Mr. Speaker. Farmers will have to produce more to supply hotels. Fishermen will have to catch more to provide to those hotels. Bus drivers, store operators, everybody will be able to benefit more from the influx of new and increased arrivals to Dominica, Mr. Speaker. So the international airport, we expect, will touch every single home and sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. And so the money spent on the international airport is, again, money is very well spent. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have $18.7 million that went that was allocated to due diligence for the CBI program.
10 more minutes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. $18.7 million was allocated to due diligence under the CBI program. Mr. Speaker, our CBI program has come under consistent attacks from both domestic and foreign sources. And it is just bewildering to me that how any local person can think it makes any kind of sense to attack our CBI program. The CBI program has been the lifeblood of this country for a long time. The various programs that I identified, the NEP, the social programs, the international airport construction, all of these are in whole part due to the CBI funds that we get. Mr. Speaker, because of the increased pressure that the CBI has been coming under, we have embarked on a number of initiatives to further strengthen our program. The Prime Minister has agreed to that 6-point agreement with the United States, and the European Union has also making other demands of the program. And so the various measures that we are taking to further strengthen the program is again monies that is well spent, and it will help assure and secure the longevity of the program for decades to come. Mr. Speaker, this concludes my contribution to the supplementary appropriations. Thank you very much.
Yes, proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make my contribution on the supplementary estimates before this House. I want to first follow suit with my colleague, the Honorable Anthony Charles, member for Marigot, stating that I am here to represent the people of Salisbury, Kolibistri, and Mononachet. It's because of them, Mr. Speaker, that I am here and I can voice their concerns in this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I took a look at the document, the supplementary estimates, and clearly I can see that there is still some room for improvement. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to sound or to be pessimistic, but after taking a look at the figures here before us under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, over $65 million was allocated to meet the expenses related to resilient housing. Yet, Mr. Speaker, I have not seen anything, neither past nor present, for the community of Kolibistri. Mr. Speaker, as long as I am here, I will continue to plead for Kolibistri. It has been 8 years and counting. 8 years since that community was declared as a disaster area. Yet, there has been no help in terms of housing and relocation for the residents here. Mr. Speaker, I will always say that I am indeed grateful to the many persons who have received home under this project. However, my heart bleeds for the people of Kolibistri who have been and is still being affected by the river. This leaves me with many questions, Mr. Speaker, asking whether Kolibistri isn't part of Dominica, or has the government just totally neglected this community? The residents need answers, Mr. Speaker, and I also need answers. And it's becoming rather an annoyance that sitting after sitting, we come here in this house and boast of all the good that's been happening in this country. Yes, Mr. Speaker, some good has been happening in the country. Yet, we have a community that panics every time it rains. This is not right, Mr. Speaker. This cannot be right. Mr. Speaker, we see a figure of over $5 million that was allocated to the Ministry of Agriculture. which according to the supplementary estimates was for the procurement of agricultural tools and equipment for farmers, fisher folks, livestock farmers, and for boat building, which of course, Mr. Speaker, I fully endorse. Whilst I express my gratitude to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Roye, and the tour that we had a few months ago to view the feeder routes from Cuba Road into the interior, I would be so grateful if urgent consideration could be placed also for the farmers of Salisbury, Kulibistri, and Monrachet. These are some of the most productive farm routes in Dominica, and most of them neglected as well. I acknowledge the fact that some work has started from the interior, beginning from Cuba Road end. But in Salisbury Heights, there are many roads that are still not motorable. Farmers are experiencing serious financial hardship due to the recurring expenses on damages to their vehicles because of the deplorable road conditions, which also has brought loss of productivity. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that, as I said, that I really endorse the fact that the Ministry of Agriculture can assist the farmers. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we do have the tools, but we have to place our focus on the feeder roads, because if we do not have proper feeder roads, how are we going to use the tools in the gardens? We have to consider and place some emphasis on the feeder roads, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the feeder roads in the heights of Salisbury, Kulibistri, and Monrachet are in a deplorable state, and it has been like this for years ongoing, unrecognized, knowing that this constituency thrives on agriculture. I believe that greater emphasis can and should be placed on the feeder roads in these communities. Mr. Speaker, there is a situation in the Guawavin Bridge in Salisbury, and it is a depressing matter. This bridge was severely compromised by the passing of Tropical Storm Philip a few months ago. The farmers could not access their farms. The water company, Doasco, could not pass their vehicles with equipment to restore the water supply back to the community. To this day, Mr. Speaker, no work has been done on this bridge. I am hoping that the Ministry of Public Works, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, respectively, work to achieve that this bridge at Guawavin at Salisbury can be constructed that will, in return, aid the farmers. Mr. Speaker, with all these unforeseen expenses during this fiscal year, from my understanding and going through the supplementary estimate documents, clearly, as I said, that there is room for improvement. A lot of monies were spent, but there are constituencies like mine, Salisbury, Kulibistri, and Monrachet, which did not benefit entirely from it. However, I am hoping that this new year brings cheer and great tidings to the Salisbury, Kulibistri, and Monrachet constituency, and Dominica by extension. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Councillor, you may proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to lend my support to the supplementary appropriation, and I'd like to speak briefly on four major items in the paper before us, namely the airport project, the housing, the NEP, and also the geothermal project. I just want to remind the listening public and members of this House, Mr. Speaker, that there are important aspects to having or important reasons for having an international airport. I know doing the historical analysis that we attempted to do this many, many times over from the 1970s, and we have seen a significant amount of work being done as we speak. And it will be work that will continue throughout a few more years to ensure that we do have this piece of infrastructure. So first of all, we have to realize that it connects the world. I had the opportunity to travel a few weeks ago and had to hop from St. Martin all over the place to get to my final destination. So definitely, we will see better connectivity when this is done. And it is something that we underplay sometimes. And we want to compare it with other countries, but it's important that as an HIL, that we do have access to our shores that is easier to the traveler. So that's the important part. The second most important piece, I think, is the economic impact. And so it definitely, with the easy movement for goods and services and for people, that we're able to support our industries. We can speak clearly about tourism, for sure, and also the trade and other logistics that happens when we do have an international airport. Even locally, and when it is done, we have job creation. And even as you speak, people from the side of the constituency are engaged at the airport. We have a few truck drivers there, security officers, some traffic wardens, even as we speak. And so in the aviation sector, it create a wide array of jobs. We're speaking from air traffic controllers, and all of the various jobs that can be produced under this massive investment. And what is also important for us are two main things at the end. We do have a transportation hub in the region. If we look at the archipelago, the Caribbean archipelago, I suspect wrongly called that. Maybe it should be the Carinago archipelago, but however, it is a hub. We are central in all of this, and we're able to pull anywhere from the Bahamas in the north to Trinidad in the south to have a consolidated point where we could have some seamless connectivity for the region. But what's also important is that at the end we will have some cultural exchanges, of course, and for the tourism sector, where people can immerse themselves in our culture and immerse themselves easily in the flora and fauna of our nature island. And so the amongst that is highlighted here in the appropriation is, I think it's money that is going to be well spent. We do have issues, environmental issues that will arise. Obviously, with development, there will be certain levels of uncomfortableness, and so it will not always be easy to deal with a major development and our normal life. And we see it very clearly in East Coast roads. We have been faced with dust and slides over a period of time, but we know that at the end we'll have a wonderful project that will make the lives of the people in that area much better. So it is money that is well spent, and we do have the diligent contractor that will continue to engage at various levels to ensure that we have a product that will truly enhance our nature island. The second important piece, Mr. Speaker, is the housing. We realize that more than $65.4 million is invested in what I would like to call climate resilience and modern homes. And this is very, very important. The people in the Cyber constituency, for example, have been benefiting from that. Just yesterday we had, out of the 73 homes delivered, 22 of those was for the people of the Carinago space. And so I really want to thank the government for continuing to do that resilient initiative, but also to give people a modern structure that will more than ever address the increasing frequencies of extreme weather conditions, etc. And this is something that we're talking now at present, how to respond to climatic events that clearly we have no control over, but hit us every now and then, and being able to have a home that is built with resilience in mind is so important for us. Mr. Speaker, the homes that are being built, proper concrete structures with decent space, will of course reduce the cost of maintenance of homes. And we know we're in a tropical country, and sometimes the material used within our space are not easily maintained. And so I really want to thank the government for those homes. and just to provide a level of decency to people, Mr. Speaker. And, and, and so public health and safety is also important in all of this. So not just having a pretty home, not just being safe from the weather, but also being safe and in a healthy environment that will encourage good family life and all of the trappings that will help people become good citizens in their own country. And what I find most important, Mr. Speaker, in the modern and resilient homes is the fact that there's an investment that has long-term value to all of the beneficiaries. And so having a $125,000 house, something that can be invested, and it's an investment in the children, in what we like to say in First Nations, indigenous, 7 generations down the road can benefit from that. And also, it will enhance the value of the community itself. So for instance, Mr. Speaker, when you come into the Carnago space and you see these wonderful homes, and you sort of reflect on 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you can see the value of how the entire space has developed, just from what you see. And when you speak to the people on the ground, the people who have the keys to their own homes, in safe homes, and you can see that there is also a shift in the consciousness because they are being happy to be part and parcel of a development. And so sometimes when I hear the conversation around discrimination and we left behind, it saddens me because the facts are so very clear that you can actually see in for example, a house, a road, that people are being taken care of by this government. And this is of recent vintage, because before 2000, it was very clear that nothing much was being done in any significant way to deal with, for example, the housing stock. And so I want to put out on record that we are very grateful in the Carnago space for that wonderful intervention. And I haven't spoken yet about the 50 homes that the EU entrusted in the government, and all of the other interventions along the course of more than 20 years under the leadership of the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Scurry. So the housing stock has improved, and we are better for it in the Carnago space. So 2 important pieces, the airport and the houses in the Carnago space. And if I can just marry those two, because we have a unique product in the Carnago space, these homes are now being considered for what we coin in the tourism sphere, which I am not an expert on, but I know people who know of it, and they whisper in my ears. How do we create a community product, and how do we encourage our homestays, for instance? And with the international airport being just about 25 minutes away from the Carnago space, we may well be able to attract people within that space. Overnight visitors who come here for conferences, who don't want to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to travel from Fort Young into airport in an office, could probably pull up, as we say, in the Carnago space and then move to the airport. So it's all of this happening, and so we are not doing these things in isolation. New homes, modern homes, resilient homes, and a new airport, but all of these are connected very nicely in our bigger vision for YT Kubuli. Mr. Speaker, I happen to lead, Mr. Speaker, the ministry that is entrusted with guiding and managing the NEP, the National Employment Program, and the monies there are well spent. And because we seem to forget, Mr. Speaker, across the country, and even in this parliament, this house, we like to say is the highest court in the land, etc., all of those flowery words, but we seem to forget that when somebody is employed, that they do have financial stability. They have something to hold on to. We seem to forget that in the case of the NEP, it's not just about beautification, maintenance, cleanup, but there are people who are engaged in really strong jobs. And so they really get some professional development. The wonderful folks who are at the various government offices, the wonderful people who are in the private sector and who have decent jobs and who can now have on their CV that experience over time. And so we have to look at it from that perspective. You know, those NEP, and we say it in a flippant sort of way, and we only target one set, and we talk about issues that are not connected at all to how do we create lives, better lives for people, and to make them better citizens. And what I also realized, Mr. Speaker, in talking to a number of the NEP interns across the country, is that being employed and within that structure, we also have a lot of social interaction. So people are meeting people, they're having conversations, they share knowledge, they become better citizens because they are able to not just be by themselves in a corner of white Kubuli, but they can connect at various levels, and so they will continue to develop personally and also in their professional lives. Because you realize that in the workplaces that it becomes a wonderful social sort of experiment where they can contribute. Now, Mr. Speaker, what is also important for in terms of employment with the NEP, we also realize that people are not persons, people. We like to use that, I don't know what that person is. People are contributing to the society. So they're employed, yes, they get a remuneration. Yes, we can argue the value and we can argue the math and whether they should get more. And I must remind the Parliament also that we have increased the remuneration for interns by a big percentage. And if you folks here in the Parliament and also the people who listen to do the calculations, and you would realize that maybe more than 400% increase in something that we just stopped in a flippant way, but that has happened, and so these people are contributing to our society. During the summer months, the NEP, the beautification part of the NEP, did this wonderful project across the country in the preparation for National Day, for Independence celebration, for the World Creole Music Festival, and clean up the entire country. People went out there with their grass cutters, with their hoes, with their cutlasses, and clean up the entire country. And we drive on those roads, and we know how expensive it is. If you have a home and you have a yard, and you have to bring in someone to do it, it costs a lot of money. So let's imagine doing the entire road networks across the country. So when people come into our space, they can see how beautiful it is. And so all of those people are really, really contributing to our Dominica, or I prefer to say our white Cuban society. And at the end, I realized that, Mr. Speaker, that being employed in something like the NEP gives people a sense of purpose. And so a lot of these people feel very accomplished in what they do. Although they hear the talk, the side whispers, but they themselves feel that they have accomplished something. And it builds their self-awareness, and for the most of the NEP interns I meet and I speak to, it has built their self-esteem, that they are not just pulled up or hanging around, but they're engaged in something that is contributing to society, and so they, I suspect, are becoming better individuals for it. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are very happy that we can continue that program. It is something that has benefited Dominica across various sectors. As I said earlier, we don't only have folks in beautification, but we have people in the private sector, and also the public sector. The government services also benefit from those people. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm in support of that, and the amongst listed there, it is well qualified to be part of this, and we have done a good job in able to maintain this. Mr. Speaker, the geothermal project, I happened to join the other fellow ministers in a foreign space a few weeks ago to talk about all the effects of climate change. And we see some monies there in excess of $12.8 million dedicated to or allocated for the geothermal project. Just need to tell this in public, the members here, that that geothermal, and the expert is here, he may nudge me if I am going along the wrong track in terms of my narrative, but it definitely is renewable energy. It's a renewable energy source, and it can be sustained over time. And so basically we harness it from the soil, from the center of the earth, and it would appear to us with the science that it produces one of the most reliable sources of power Now, what is interesting for me also, Mr. Speaker, as a minister responsible for the environment, is the low carbon emissions that would come about because of the geothermal project. And so because it produces low emissions, it is much better for usage than fossil fuels, Mr. Speaker. And so what it will do, it will contribute to mitigating against climate change, and of course reduce greenhouse gases. We try to keep the global temperatures below 1.5, and like we say in the environmental circles, 1.5 to stay alive. Mr. Speaker, what is really interesting about the geothermal project is that it is what we call a honourable Doctor, Member of Parliament for Granby, Minister of Trade and Foreign Affairs. It will be base load power supply. And what that really means, base load power supply, is that it provides a consistent and stable power supply and a source that is renewable, and it is similar to what we get from wind and solar. So definitely, Mr. Speaker, when that is done, because it will be done, because we have already signed off the agreements to have the plant to have it built, it will reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. We already, Mr. Speaker, have a 40%, at least 40% hydro, and with the additional geothermal resource, we're able to phase out, as we say, the use of fossil fuels. Mr. Speaker, what is also very interesting about the geothermal project itself, it will tie nicely for airport project, because eventually ultimately a massive infrastructure project at the airport will need a good source of energy, and so the next phase of the project would be to ensure that we are able to provide that energy to the airport. And so there are a lot of local benefits to having the geothermal project, because it will, of course, create employment. And, Mr. Speaker, it will provide energy at a lower rate, and it may be the case where we're able to attract different industries into our space. And so we are moving ahead to look at the production of green hydrogen and all of those wonderful industries that can be supported by geothermal. So, Mr. Speaker, in all of the conversation here, that's the three important things I spoke about. I think, as a responsible government, we have been creating solutions for ourselves. We have to remind ourselves that we lost more than 226% of our GDP after Hurricane Maria. We have to remind ourselves about that. And we, as a government, we did a roadmap. We say we're going to check our vibes. We're going to make sure we have a way forward. And that's why we had the creed and we had our resilience strategy. All of these are public documents, and I find, Mr. Speaker, these documents are not read by even members in our parliament. And to better understand where we have come from and where we're going to go. And not just losing the 226 during Hurricane Maria, but also losing 90% of our GDP before that, with Hurricane, Tropical Storm Erika. So we have been losing a lot, and we have been able to track ourselves. There's the political will, of course, good leadership, political will. And I believe, I want to argue that there is a certain level of collective consciousness. That even if some of us have issues with a government or a personality, that we are mindful that together we have to have those plans to ensure that moving forward we can build a better country. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is very, very clear, and the eyes can see, or those who have eyes to see, let them see, that we are rebuilding our country, brick by brick. We're not only building the infrastructure, but we are building people, for example, through the NEP, for scholarships overseas, etc., through our non-pensionable allowances, etc., all of those wonderful social safety net programs. And we also building a resilient financial situation for ourselves. So we're not doing, like we say in Creole, but we're not doing anything vai-ki-vai or haphazardly. We're not doing anything vai-ki-vai. So as a government with a clear vision to be the first climate resilient country. We are moving ahead, and we shall not be done. We are not daunted by the task, Mr. Speaker.
10 more minutes.
And we are on the right track. And I just want to encourage this honorable House to look at these things, these numbers, with some level of transparency and intelligence, and so we can continue to ensure that the Kubuli that we have been entrusted, that has been entrusted to us by the great Kainaga warriors and the Negmao, can live for 7 generations, and the benefits of what we're doing now can affect people's lives in a positive way. But Mr. Speaker, I do have the faith in a country that will be one of the best to survive all of the issues of climate change. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, thank you for your patience.
Yes, Honorable Henderson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by apologizing to you and thanking you for not ejecting me from the House, since my dry cleaner had not provided me with sober colors to attend the House. But I must say, Mr. Speaker, when I read the National Dress Act, Chapter 3002, which incidentally was enacted a few months before I was born. It's my birthday next week. It was enacted in 1971. Man didn't have suit like that then. Mr. Speaker, I thought sober colors meant anything besides Susun Klewe. So I thought having a pink shirt with a tie to match, and obviously I can't put a gray or blue tie or black tie on a pink shirt, although I see fellas do that. So, Mr. Speaker, I have to apologize and thank you for not ejecting me. Mr. Speaker, I'll proceed to give my support to the motion before us.
Honorable Member, before you proceed, let me just clarify something. We are all mature individuals in this honorable House. There's a specific member that did not have a jacket on and a sleeve, her hand was showing. So I messaged her privately, and I took the opportunity to just indicate to the entire House. So it was not meant for anybody else necessarily. So I'm not rigid in regards to the rule. It's just that if we allow people to start doing anything and how they want, then we have a challenge. You understand? So it was not meant in any negative way. It was specifically, I don't want to call the member name, because it was done privately, and the member responded and said, "Thank you." So in life, I am just a humble person. We have rules, I follow the rules. For example, somebody may recognize that some members are on their laptop during the House, but a number of members on both sides are on their laptops, but we're in a modern age, modern era. A number of members are on their phones sometimes. But if your phone is not ringing, because of the new technology, people need to be up to date. Sometimes you get a message. So I'm not rigid on those matters. I just made an observation specifically to a member. And the member said, "Thank you." And she put her jacket on her. So in life, we just need to be humble. And that's who I am. I'm given a job to interpret the rules and guide, so I do my best. So, Honorable Minister, no one is going to be kicked out or asked to be moved. We'll just politely caution So if I say, for example, I said it's not a fashion because in other words, I don't want to see your arms. And I will specify it now, not the name. The member was on the opposition side. So, but I like how you did it. It was very jovial. But yes, but maybe, and maybe we need to look at the rule, the same dress code because there is no stipulation for women. But I don't think the House should focus on those things as a major item. You understand? But I just pointed it out because the member did not have a jacket and her arms were actually revealing. So that's all. That's all. So if anyone in this honorable House felt offended, it was not intended to anybody else but that specific person. And therefore, I'm sorry if you interpreted it wrongly. But let's just stay sober, focus on our debate. That's what we come here for. Yeah. Thank you. Move on.
Is it? Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to prolong the discussion, but maybe we'll have to call a chat or something. Anyway, so, Mr. Speaker, let us proceed. Let me just continue with my contribution, and I want to give support to the supplementary estimate of July 2022 to June of 2023. Mr. Speaker, we don't have to go into the long discussion on why we do this, but it is necessary from time to time, year to year, that there are, the member of Marigot, unforeseen expenditure that have to be funded. And this is the mechanism by which the Parliament has authorized the Minister of Finance to proceed with it and to return to the Parliament for approval. So I rise in support of that action today, and I want to speak specifically to the item which was under the Ministry of Planning, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, Sustainable Development, and Renewable Energy, which I headed at the time. And that is towards the construction of a geothermal energy power plant. But before I go into that, I want to take the opportunity also to recognize a number of activities which were funded by the supplementary estimate during that period. And one of them is the financing of the funding of the National Employment Program. The National Employment Program served a vital role throughout the country and on a local level in every community in Dominica. Tremendous contribution. It creates employment, but one of the things I have become particularly fond of is the fact that it allows us the opportunity to see our communities always clean, beautiful in some cases, trees planted, well manicured, and give you a sense of pride. So I think that is very, very important. And I just happen to be representing the constituency with the best NEP teams. So, you know, I want to thank them and recognize them for that, for their leadership. And I am only speaking for myself. As the member of Marigot taught me, when you stand on your feet there, but talk for your constituency. So if you think all you own better, come and talk. But I really want to thank the leaders we have there. We have some serious leaders in both Granby and Tetmon Mountain. You know, I mean, excellent. You know, Cleo Lifam and her team, with Delma Anderson and the rest of them, I mean, brilliant. And my good friend Leandra Robin up in Tetmon and Mountain, they're doing an excellent job, and I really want to commend them for that. They're the same people, and the reason I'm saying that is really because most of you enjoy their work, you know, because they had to leave right at Mon and Granby and go and clean under Mount Daniel. Lally Coco, we had to go and help the member of parliament for Roseau South. We had to be all over the place. At the stadium, we were there. Our teams were there to prepare the stadium for Creole Festival. Even Youth Rally, they call us. They call us. We have to come down and work and organize the place for you. So you have to recognize the contribution of that team. You go throughout the country, and once you give us a ride, you make sure we have gas, we'll be there. Just call us, we'll be there. So, Minister of NEP, just make sure we have ride, we'll be there. He knows what I mean. But, Mr. Speaker, moving on to the geothermal part, which is really what I want to speak to, and I think it is essential just to describe the activities carried out and financed as indicated here. But more importantly, the source of financing is very important. There were two main activities which were funded. One in the amount of $12 million, $12.9 million, and that was provided for by way of a loan. And the bigger one, which is $42 million, was by way of grant. I think it's important to highlight that, because out of that $54 million, we're actually talking about 90% of that being grant funded. And the ability of the government to secure grant funding for a project of that magnitude is something that must be recognized and commended. And I'm not saying that because I had a role to play in it, but because geothermal energy development is so expensive. It is capital intensive and highly technical. And very few countries with geothermal potential have been able to secure grant funding to help them to move their projects forward, that most of them have abandoned it. But in the case of Dominica, we were able to secure $10 million from the UK. It was DFID at the time, FCDO now. We were able to secure $10 million for that project. And that was since I was ambassador somewhere, either in New York or Washington. It's a while back. And we secured these funds because we continue to make the request that in order to develop geothermal energy, we needed grant funding. We got the $10 million, and a number of things happened. A number of things happened since that time. And when we thought we would have lost the funds, we were still able to continue with the project. And we want to thank the government of the United Kingdom for that. We know at some point they too were concerned, and through the World Bank, they expressed their doubts in continuing to finance the project, but were able to do it. We're also able to secure $2 million grant funding from SIDSDOC through a facility which was created by the government of Japan. And I had a personal hand in that. It's not because I'm trying to look to give myself, I thought now say, back on my stripes. But the thing is, it is something that has a history. We're able to go to the Japanese government. At the time, Dr. Daru was the minister, and I remember I was ambassador to the United Nations, and at Cancun, at COP some number, I can't remember which one it was. It was a conference of the parties. I got the minister to sign on the behalf of the small island developing states a grant agreement with the government of Japan. Subsequent to that, I myself traveled to Japan, and we were able to secure $2 million for that project, for the geothermal development project, through the organization that I helped to fund and establish. And that $12 million, which is really what you see in there, in the 42 million EC dollars, went to the construction of the civil works. So we're able to finance the civil works of about $3 million we started, but we had cost overrun because of the word for the day, unforeseen, because of unforeseen circumstances. So we started the excavation works, and it was not what was expected, and we had to go back and do some geotechnical studies, do a redesign, get it approved, and we had some cost overrun for a couple of months. They extended the project and had a domino effect. And that resulted in us having to utilize some of the loan funds to finance some of the work. So the $12 million coming from the loan is a loan that was already approved for geothermal energy development by this parliament a few years ago and has been waiting for disbursement at the World Bank, but we were able to get the funds and to construct 2 new wells. So these were 2 new wells and the infrastructure works that were done, roads, well pads, and to ensure that the project is ready for execution. So, Mr. Speaker, our drilling was successful, as I have announced before, and as a result, we are now ready for the construction of the power plant. On December 5th, 2023, that was about a week ago, in Dubai, at the margins of the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Framework for Climate Change, Convention for Climate Change, COP28, we signed an agreement to construct a 10-megawatt power plant with Ormat Technologies of Nevada. This 10-megawatt power plant will be developed by Ormat, and power will be sold to Domlec at a tariff that is already agreed and negotiated. But we have a lot of work to do, I must admit, and we'll be coming to Parliament for its consideration for a number of actions that we must take in order to give effect to that contract and to allow for the construction of that project. We expect the construction of the plant to take 24 months and to have power on the grid by the end of 2025. Mr. Speaker, I will not speak too much detail since I will have another opportunity to speak to the specifics of the geothermal development project. But as the member of Marigot said, that it is my interest and I'm pushing it. But it is bigger than that. It is bigger than that. It is in the interest of the country. Because in order to develop, remember when you were going to school and my teacher who taught me POB, she's there, at the back. Principles of business. She taught me, and I was thinking about what she taught me when I was in third form, about the factors of production, land, labor, and capital. And I'm thinking, but that's not relevant again, eh? You need technology, right? You need a whole bunch of stuff now, as factors of production. So it is not just land, labor, and capital. You need energy. You need energy. You need technology. You need connectivity, telecommunications. You need energy. The basis of all of this is energy. And therefore, building an international airport, we know on this side that it has to be powered. And your father was a member of the revolution, and I remember there was one thing that Piero taught me, that even a revolution has to be financed. So one of the things you have to understand, the airport must be powered. It's all about energy. And we are building this plan because we are looking to the future. The expansion of Dominica, the activities we expect in the next 5 years, 10 years, we're going to have a serious demand for power. We saw what happened last year with the hottest summer on record, and what it did, and the consequences on Domlec generation abilities. So we will see an increase, even if we get more efficient in the use of power, there will still be a growth. We just saw the opening of the Fort Young Hotel, the expansion, more hotel rooms. We've seen in Lale Coco the construction of another hotel, and we see the sign coming soon for the construction of work of Timbo's downtown. I'm only talking about this part. And in the Rosa Valley, the Rainforest Sanctuary, there's a hotel being constructed there. The demand for power is going to be so great that we must be able to have reliable supply of energy. And the thing for Dominica, the fortunate thing is that we don't have to depend on solar or wind because we have geothermal power. Because solar and wind are intermittent. Sometimes you look at boy, you don't used to fly kites. We never die on you, boy, and your kite right up there and see what happened. We used to send kite right yard. Well, member for parliament for Central, you don't even know his yard, you're too young. Or you're not there. We used to send kite right yard, and when the wind died, that's it, you know. You're on the plane field, send you anything up there, anything, no wind. Wind is intermittent. It's good sometimes, but sometimes there's none. Solar is good, easy to install, cheaper than geothermal, but it is only there when there's sun. And people make the mistake about sun. Sun is not only in the day. Sun is when there is sun. When you have cloud cover, you don't have sun. So we are fortunate in Dominica that we don't have to depend on the sources, because even if you were to invest in solar or wind, you must have diesel. But with geothermal, you don't need diesel. You don't need diesel. So we are fortunate that we have more potential than we need. And this is why we're talking about export. And this is why we're talking about production of green hydrogen and other fuel cells, ammonia. So we are fortunate and we are moving forward, but we are doing this because, you know, I used a line in Dubai the other day, and you know, sometimes when you do a thing, you feel nice about it. I don't know if I should try it here, but I like it. We decided to develop geothermal energy, not because it's easy, but because it has the potential to transform our country, our economy, our energy source. And that's what it is. I know it's not easy, and my colleagues too, I know they feel the pain, they feel the burden, because we've been talking about this thing for so long. But as I always say, I mean, if there's one person to feel that burden and that pressure, it's really me, because I have been associated with this for so long. But the good thing is there's always been the political will, the leadership. Our Prime Minister has always ensured that we get the support to push on with that project. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for that continued leadership. Because that leadership is not only for Dominica, but for all small island developing states that are seeking to pursue renewable energy. That's encouragement. That's, you know, desire that, hey, we can do this. The only other leader in the small island developing states that have shown that kind of leadership, unfortunately for him, it has not been that successful, is Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He took the bold step, made the investment, and still has the desire to pursue geothermal energy. So the funds that were spent here, please, money well spent. And my good friend, I'm sure you know that place well. If you go up to Loda, you will see that's money well spent. And the results are excellent, and we thank God for that, because you never know what you're getting when you go down 1,400 meters. That is serious, you know, depth. Almost a mile, really. And we drill all the way down 1,400 meters. And fortunately, we got the right heat, the right temperature, the right pressure, and the impurities found were not sufficient to make it difficult to do a geothermal power plant. So, Mr. Speaker, we will be coming to Parliament again. Well, I cannot say that. It is the Cabinet and the Chairman of the Cabinet to determine that, but I'm expecting that we will soon have to return to Parliament to discuss more of our geothermal energy development efforts. So, on this, Mr. Speaker, I hope the Minister of Finance will be satisfied that I have adequately explained the $54 million that I have asked him to bring here. So I hope my job here is done. And Mr. Speaker, if you wish, I can go home and change my clothes. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Rouhier, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the supplementary estimates. But first, I would like to express my gratitude to the wonderful people of the Cottage constituency, Mr. Speaker. December 6th, give it a year,
since I'm the PAL rep. And I want to thank them for the love and support, but most importantly, to thank them for the praise, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank them for entrusting me to represent them at the highest level. And I can say to the people of Cottage, or the Cottage constituency rather, I will do all it takes to provide effective representation on their behalf. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for his guidance to me personally as a freshman over the past year, and the support he has provided to the people of the Cottage constituency. But Mr. Speaker, the projects that were funded under this supplementary estimate of expenditure for period 2022-2023 fiscal year, as it relates to the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, they were very timely and appropriate as we work towards our target in achieving $700 million contribution to GDP by the year 2030. Mr. Speaker, in putting this intervention into context, we must highlight, or we must not forget, the damages and losses to the sector due to the passage of Hurricane Maria 6 years ago. That cost us, just the sector, $576.8 million. Since the passage of Hurricane Maria, the government has invested over $190 million to rehabilitate and to rebuild a more resilient sector. Mr. Speaker, in implementing this project, as I've reported before, the sector has recovered, even surpassing pre-Maria figures. We have seen significant investment by the farmers themselves, and they must be commended. Based on our last assessment, Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago, when we were preparing for Tropical Storm Tammy, we did an assessment, and we did one recently when we were able to distribute fertilizer. We have recorded over 900 acres of bananas and planted, Mr. Speaker, and over 500 acres of root crops, Mr. Speaker. That shows, Mr. Speaker, that our farmers are resilient, because we can remember during the summer we experienced a very dry and prolonged dry season, Mr. Speaker. So our farmers must be commended. They understand what it means by food security. So we can report that there has been an overall positive impact of the investment the government has been making over the years. And this is showing, Mr. Speaker. But the investment will not stop there. We have a gap, as I mentioned before, of over $400 million to meet in order to achieve our targets for 2030. So, Mr. Speaker, it is against this backdrop that this investment of $5.1 million, Mr. Speaker, was very necessary, and it continues to assist the ministry in building a resilient sector. So under this project, Mr. Speaker, $3.5 million was spent for procurement of mechanized tools and equipment. That includes postal diggers, chainsaws, maize blowers, knapsack, brush cutters, wood shredders, water pumps, rotovators, and the list goes on. As a ministry, Mr. Speaker, we are aware of the challenges that the farmers have been faced with currently with farm labor. So these small tools and equipment will ensure that they can be more effective and be more efficient when they're doing these works on the farm. So for example, a casual farm laborer would dig approximately, let's say, 50 to 70 holes for passion fruit or bananas per day. With the introduction of the postal digger, we can now see 300 to 400 holes per day. So that's what we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, introducing machineries to the farmers for free to enhance the efficiencies on the farm. Mr. Speaker, and we are already seeing the benefits in the production of vegetables and the white potatoes. But I want to inform my friend member from Marigot that the white potato seeds are on island and will soon commence distribution and establishment. So have no fear, sir. We are on top of our game. Okay, my friend? Wonderful. So they are on island as we speak. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, in the $5.1 million, we also saw investments for the supply of building materials for livestock. We had two contracts, one worth $900,000 and the other $2.4 million. This investment, Mr. Speaker, will support approximately 200 livestock farmers. So far, we have completed the construction of 15 pens, and we are currently constructing 124 pens, Mr. Speaker. But that investment is strategic. We are not doing things vai-ki-vai. That is complementing our meat import substitution program. Currently, we're importing about $20 million worth of chicken and pork. We have set targets, if you listen carefully during the budget. By 2025, we want to reduce that by at least 5 million. So in supporting the farmers, we increase production and productivity, and all with our new abattoir that we're going to construct, we are aiming to reduce the amount of meat that we're importing annually. So that support to farmers is not just giving building materials to build pens, just like that. We have an end goal and we have a plan, Mr. Speaker. We also procured, with that 5.1 million, electric fencing for livestock. That worth about $451,000. So now we are introducing new technology, Mr. Speaker, to the farms so that our livestock can be more secured. In addition to that, we also procured the traditional fencing wire material of about $433,000, and that is an effort for us to increase our acreages on the pasture as well as to expand our livestock subsector. We spent about over $700,000 to procure new flooring material for the livestock central farm. But it's not the simple flooring, that is hard plastic material flooring, slated plastics, that is more resilient, durable, can withstand moisture, and of course, we all know the importance of the sexual life of farm in Londonderry. It is to ensure that we have secured livestock material, breeding material for our farmers, because that's the center of where we breed and provide stocks for livestock production. We also spent over $92,000 to buy equipment for boat building. My marine specialist will speak about it a little later. But that was an effort to provide support to farmers, not the farmers, but the fishers who are constructing the boats. And in addition to that, over $500,000 was spent on materials for building boats. That included fiberglass, resins, the lumber, and that will result in providing 53 resilient, fiber-reinforced plastic boats to our fishers, to our well-deserving, hard-working fishers in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that's just a snapshot of the 5.1, what was spent for. But we have a lot of exciting things going on in agriculture. At the ministry, within the sector, you know, I mean, we make headlines every other week. You know what I'm saying? So things are happening. Things are happening. So I'll give you a quick snapshot before I sit, because I'm not intending to stay long today, Mr. Speaker. I just prepared that while sitting here this morning. But just for an update, Mr. Speaker, which I want it to be enhanced as well, we have received the coffee roasting equipment. All the persons thought when we had our press conference at the end of March, they said, oh my God, coffee plant again. No, we have received the coffee roasting equipment. It is sitting at the plant in 1 mile. And in addition to that, just yesterday, the consultant and the coffee developer came into Dominica so we could continue discussion and start to commence our works on the actual plan for rehabilitation, Mr. Speaker. So we are moving. So soon we are going to have coffee. For those that were not sure, I'm giving you a little hope now that coffee is coming. About tissue culture about 1 mile, Mr. Speaker, is nearing completion. Our last visit, the manager of the construction firm said that by February, but give and take, I'll say much. We have to be realistic. Give and take. Let's say that. Yeah, so we can take that. So after that's complete, Mr. Speaker, we'll have the capacity to produce clean planting material for farmers, all an effort to support our expansion program in tree crops and other crops, Mr. Speaker. So that again is strategic. It's not building a lab for building a lab's sake. We have targets to meet, and we have certain links and certain factors and certain components we have to put in place to ensure that we meet it. And the hardened facility at 1 mile has a capacity to produce over 500,000 seedlings, Mr. Speaker, in any one cycle. So we can even produce for farmers and even have potential to export and sell for members in the OCS island, Mr. Speaker. Our national abattoir, we've been hearing about that for a while. As we speak, we are reviewing the tenders we have received and having everything equal. In January, end of this month, we should have a contract awarded to the deserving contractor to commence construction of a brand new abattoir. It's not rehabilitated, it's a brand new one. So what we are doing now to ensure that we continue to provide meat to the general public, we are doing some short-term intervention on electrical, so persons and them will be safe, some plumbing issues and some leaks to make sure that we are running. So by the time we're ready to construct, we'll have no gap in not selling, but we are going to build a brand new abattoir to complement the investments we are making in all the pens that we are building. So the farmers will be able to sell their pork and chicken as we are investing, Mr. Speaker. In support again of the livestock subsector, Mr. Speaker, we have heard the calls of the farmers. The cost of animal feed is just too much. It's exorbitant. Nothing because of us and the markups, it's because of the world issues. The Ukraine-Russia war, the price of grains went up, transportation, logistics, costing went up, so we are now paying that cost. So people would prefer a short-term intervention. Give me some bags of feed for free. But we're saying, yes, that can happen, but we're thinking long-term. So currently we are making preparations, Mr. Speaker, to invest in a brand new animal feed mill, Mr. Speaker. So that is not addressing the issue on surface. We're looking at the long-term plan for the sector so we can make animal feed more affordable. And so based on my advisors and researchers who we're working with that will reduce the cost of animal feed by 30 to 40%, Mr. Speaker, once completed. So we're working on, Mr. Speaker. We are also taking proactive actions at the ministry. There's a disease, Mr. Speaker, they call TR4. It's a fusarium wilt that is in Central America, Panama, and some other countries. Very dangerous, very, very aggressive. It can be even more dangerous than the black sigatoka in banana plantains. So being proactive in the ministry, we have already imported 1,200 resistant tissue culture plants of the TR4, and we have they're handling now at 1 mile, so we can do some test plots on the island to observe and see how it performs in our conditions. It's inevitable because pest and disease transfer borders very quickly. So before it comes in, we are making sure that we have planting material for bananas and planting are resistant to that variety. So if, God forbid, it comes to our shores, we can have that planting material there. But in addition to that, we have an order, and in transit in Panama as I speak, 45,000 tissue culture banana and planting, Mr. Speaker. That's to provide to farmers for free, again, Mr. Speaker. So we're planting and banana farmers, the commercial ones, we are going to provide some clean planting material so they'll be more tolerant to the black sigatoka, and with that, we'll assist them with the oils and the sprays and the mist blowers to ensure that we have the tech pack locked down so we can once again build back that subsector because the demand is there. as we speak. So that's an investment we are making, Mr. Speaker. But my friend member from Salisbury, we are now wrapping up an irrigation project in Grand Savannah, which is worth over 500 in Salisbury. Yes, over $500 million. I'm very happy for that project, Mr. Speaker, because that's, yes, no, sorry, 1,000. Thank you. 1,000, $500,000. But I'm very happy because that's an area they produce a lot of vegetables. And they're the one who sustain, I know, the Maclean Postman for sure. But that's where I grew up. So they deserve that. But do not come in the house and give the impression that nothing is being done for Subway farmers. You cannot do that. That is not true. Okay? But we'll commission and we'll invite you as the parliament and all of us there. We'll have a commissioning ceremony in January where we'll cut the ribbon, we'll open the pipe, we'll open the drips for the farmers in Salisbury to make sure that water is flowing, and that's going to benefit 64 vegetable farmers on the Grand Savannah, Mr. Speaker. But when the member of Salisbury made mention of feeder roads, I shivered a bit. Yes. And I got a little serious then, because I would not understand after the trough system we experienced a month or two ago, and the kind of action the members saw in Makushri and the same Grand Rivier. We went on 3 or 4 occasions because rain fell like every other day. Sending machines, the public works to send machines. Even though I was concerned, agriculture people to send machines there every other day to ensure the farmers have access to their farms. And they come in now and say, you're on the road in Grand Rivier. But what I would advise the next time, ask your farmers for an update. Yes, sir. Because I speak to them every other day. They know, they're aware of what contractor came on site. So you're yes, a lot of Salisbury. Yes. They're aware that the CTO from Public Works was on site, that's the engineer, and the engineer was on site. They're also aware we contractor that will get the contract. The ministry now is doing designs because we have to build a retaining wall. I went there myself. I called Ministerial to accompany me, but she was far. I met farmers there. I was Salisbury. As that happened, Mr. Speaker, he saw the West Coast was collapsing Salisbury one time. Boom. So you have to move energies, resources to address the most urgent part. But we ensured that access. Every time. The farmers had access to the farm. Every time. Makushri was a disaster. We had to actually realign the entire road in Makushri because the river took the entire bed. We had to mobilize quickly. The Minister of Public Works was fed up with me because farmers want to go to their farms. So during that trough system, the Salisbury constituency that got the most attention when come for creating access to farms. So I was very disappointed, friend, to even mention that we're not paying attention to the road. And so it's very, because the money that was spent just to ensure access for the past 2 months, that could have been a brand new. That's the kind of situation we have and the things that we have to deal with. So I just wanted to just make that point, okay? So I want to make that point because I know we're good, we are going to help you, let's work nice. Yeah, let's work nice. Yeah. Okay? So, Mr. Speaker, in addition to this Salisbury project we're doing for the irrigation, it's not going to stop there. In the new year, we are going to work with individual farmers to put or install that system on the farm. Yeah. Because with climate change, we are feeling the effects of climate change, very prolonged dry periods. And the PIU that's doing our project, the World Bank project, recently they had a call for an RFP out for farmers who are interested to apply. They would have done an assessment, and farmers who have medical qualification criteria, by next year, we'll work with them to install units on the farm. If you require pumps, you get that. Drip system, you get that. Because we need to have a more readily supply supply of vegetables to supply our supermarkets, our restaurants, our hotels, and of course for consumption ourselves. So we're working on that, Mr. Speaker, and in the new year we're going to move aggressively on that as well. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, I just want to give my commitment to the House that the ministry, myself, Honorable Defoe, Lakia, we are fully committed to ensure that we see the transformation of the sector. And I want to thank and commend all the farmers, because we're not going to do it. I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, the farmers now, they're excited. Farmers want to work. And the best thing we did, Mr. Speaker, we, Ministry of Trade, was to establish that procurement facility at Dexia. Farmers who never wanted to plan for Dexia. No. Man claim land like crazy because Dexia paying. Oh boy. Dexia paying. And not just better than plantain too, you know. Even bay oil they paying too, you know. So Dexia come out. Polo man all. You know, so people nice. Yes. In 48 hours, my brother, look your money. Go and plant. You know, so, and next getting markets, we are even exporting to St. Lucia, Ginger, Mr. Speaker, record break, because we've not done that before. So that facility within sort of $5 million, Mr. Speaker, from that World Bank project, yeah, it's moving mountains. And I know in the new year, Mr. Speaker, our farmers will continue to provide that support. And I want to thank them for that, because without the farmers, we would have the produce to sell and their time, their efforts. That's why, Mr. Speaker, we awarded them nicely at the State House. We had a ceremony. They came with their wife in jacket and tie. Them fellas pick up clean. Yes. We had 17 category of awards. The President, the PM, FA rep from Barbados Kingdom, and we award and celebrate the hard work of our farmers. And as the PM said, that will be an annual thing from now. And we booked the status already for next year. That book for next year, and farmers will be fine. Okay, so Mr. Speaker, just to close, considering that investment of $5.1 million, Mr. Speaker, the ministry, we are happy that it was done. It assisted us in meeting our programs and our target as we transform the sector. And I'm very, very happy for that. And one time, Mr. Finance, for allowing that to happen. So once again, thank you very much. And I put my full support to this appropriation bill, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Suspended.
I second the motion, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Sorry, suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stand suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon.